Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Token Games Podcast. I'm your host and sometimes referee, Zach Sad Pearson, and today I'm joined by the officer who multiplied 9,000 times plus one.
Hey, how you doing?
And we might have some late entries later on. So, keep your ears peeled, as the kids say. If the kids even say that. Are they still kids? That feels like a very old phrase. Okay. The topics are as predictable as the sun rising. The Game Awards was this week. Besides alerting you all to please watch it, what was your favorite thing about it? And who do you feel like won an award or deserved to win an award, and who didn't deserve to win an award? Topic 2, what was your favorite show of 2019, animated and live action? Topic 3, with the exception of Microsoft, all the Japanese console makers have their own internet-based promotional video series for upcoming titles. In particular, State of Play for Sony and Nintendo Live for Nintendo. Although everyone and their mom knows the PlayStation 5, the Xbox, and the upgraded Nintendo Switch are all on their ways to being mass-produced, they're never brought up in these promotional advertisements or videos. Do you think it's because they still aren't ready? Or is there possibly a shortage of premier titles for these new systems currently in development? Topic 4, talking about State of Play and Resident Evil 3 Remake. What do you want to see them do different from the original Resident Evil 3, if you played it, or Resident Evil 2 Remake? Also, if you haven't played any scary games, just feel free to talk about what you would like to see in State of Play going into next year. More accessory, promotion, development spotlights, whatever. And we might have a bonus topic depending on how this runs. I'll get into that later. All right, go ahead and start us off, officer.
Well, the Game Awards, there was actually quite a lot that I was really, that I really liked about it. Chief among them, of course, some of the video games they announced. We got, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we got to hear a lot of the, at least I don't recall hearing some of the English voice actors that were in this newest trailer for it, but it was pretty cool to see more on that. And from the looks of that one and all the others, I'm thinking it's possibly going to end right at the end of back in Final Fantasy VII when you left Midgar.
I think that's everybody's pretty much agreed on that.
Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to this Final Fantasy VII Remake. One thing I'm really curious about is how they're gonna have Red 13 play as, because we've seen Cloud, a little bit of Aerith, and a bunch of Tifa, which Tifa's definitely looks interesting. Hell, they all do, to be honest. I'm just wondering how they're gonna do Red 13s. Oh, well, that's random. Whatever. I'm sure we can discuss that for quite a while, so I'm just moving on to a couple of the other games that got my attention. The announcement of Bravely Default 2, which, for those who might not know, Bravely Default is through and through, it's a JRPG with all the classic tropes associated with it, but it did it really, really fucking well and had a really awesome soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that. Okay, so I'm a little confused because I know there's Bravely Default, but then didn't they do Bravely Second, a sequel to it? So if they did a sequel to it, why is everyone saying that this game is a sequel to Bravely Default and not Bravely Second?
Well, from what I'm hearing, this actually isn't related to Bravely Second to Bravely Default. It's just another story with a similar premise. set in the same world. So I guess you could kind of look at it as like a sort of reboot slash spinoff.
Japanese weirdness at its finest.
Yeah, pretty much. But so long as the game itself is good, I'm not gonna mind. So yeah, there was that, and another one that really caught my eye was a sequel to what was it? That uh, Hellblade, I believe it was, or Hellblade Senua or whatever. Which
Sinwa
was
Sacrifice. They're saying that they're doing a 2 to it.
Sorry, Senua Sacrifice. Yeah, that game. While I didn't get the chance to play much of it, it was really interesting. In like the video games as an art sort of category, I would say it was genuinely good. Better than could be said of some of the works of, Hideo Kojima. But we've shared our thoughts on that before. I would say that this Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, is definitely something to look forward to. Because the first game was, despite gameplay-wise maybe being a bit simple, the story of it was really interesting. Um, let's see here. Two other games that caught my attention were Weird West and Ghost of Tsushima. With Weird West, the first thing I thought was, wait a minute, is this a isometric view RPG based on the old tabletop game Deadlands? But that doesn't appear to be the case. It seems to be like more of a generalized type of Weird West kind of thing, which that in itself is a subgenre of the Western genre, from what I've found out somewhat recently. It's basically when they combine another genre with the Western genre. Like you get, I can think of a recent example was that movie Cowboys and Aliens, which was basically a cross of like sci-fi and Western. Regardless of all this, Weird West, it looked very interesting. And it seemed to imply that it was very open-ended and that you could get multiple different kind of endings if you play through it in different ways. And that is always a plus in my mind. As for Ghosts of Tsushima, well, it looks like an Assassin's Creed style game that hopefully isn't going to be super buggy like Assassin's Creed. And, well, to be honest, I rather like the gameplay of the Assassin's Creed games, even if I don't much like where the story went past, I think it was 2 or 3, when they just said, oh yeah, the whole Desmond thing, let's just forget about that. But gameplay-wise, I liked Assassin's Creed, and this Ghost of Tsushima looks like it's going to be a bit more of that. And I haven't really looked into it too much, but the only place I can remember the mention of Tsushima, and like I think it's an island off the coast of Japan, was the Mongol invasion. So I'm wondering if that's going to be what that game is. If it is, it could be kind of cool. And other than that, we finally have a name for the new Xbox, and we know what it looks like. And Let's see here. As for the awards, oh, I got a bit to say on this one. Mostly in, what didn't deserve an award and what didn't deserve nomination. Best strategy game of the year. Yeah, that should have gone to either Wargroove or Total War Three Kingdoms. Best ongoing game.
Hey, are those video games or PC games?
PC games are still video games, man.
That's not what I asked you. Are they PC games or video games?
Wargroove, I believe, is available on the Switch. So, yeah. Total War Three Kingdoms, though, that's only PC.
Okay, so the reason it won, besides the fact that, Weeboos move in an army, is probably because they had more of a limited fan base and limited exposure.
I'm fully aware of why.
I'm not saying why. I'm saying that's probably the best reason, because I'm not even saying those games suck or that Fire Emblem deserved to win it. I'm just getting at, like, for one thing, if there's 3 games in that category or 4 games in that category, me personally, not a hypothetical, and I only recognize 2, those games could be the shit. They could be something that uplifts the genre and sets a new standard. But I think it might have just been the fact that Weeboos outvoted everything. Not that, just because you like anime doesn't mean you know when you play a good game. I hate when people say that. But I think that might be it, because I was kind of interested in some of those other games just based on what they look like. But fuck, they have like no promotion going for them, sadly. I kind of want to look into that Wargroove stuff.
Wargroove, it's really good. It's basically, if you've ever played Advance Wars, it's really similar to that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I understand fully why Fire Emblem Three Houses won for best strategy game. I just don't think personally that it should have gone to either Wargroove or Total War Three Kingdoms. That's my opinion, but I know why it won. But I know why Fire Emblem won it. As for best ongoing game, fuck Fortnite. That was stupid. It should have gone to either Destiny 2 or Final Fantasy 14.
Wait. Didn't Destiny win?
Best ongoing game went to
Wasn't
Fortnite.
It? I thought it was gonna, but didn't it? No, seriously, didn't it go to Destiny?
No, Destiny 2 won a different award. I forget which one it was.
Yeah, but
best community support. Yeah, best community.
Well, that makes no sense based on how much that shit sucked. But hey, at least they pulled a win out their ass at the last minute, I guess. But yeah, my bad. Continue.
Yeah, but the best ongoing game, no. Fuck Fortnite. It should not have won that. No, get that shit out of here.
Damn.
And for the player's voice, which I think out of the various, at least from what I understand of the video game awards, feel free to correct me here, out of the awards, that was the only one that was voted on by the public. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised Smash Ultimate didn't win it. Because looking at the ones that they had up for that one, or nominations.
What category are we talking about? Because Smash was in a couple categories.
Player's voice.
Player's voice? What?
Yeah.
There's a category called Player's Voice?
Yeah.
What the fuck was...
This is apparently the only one that people, like the public, actually voted on, rather than, the private group that, decided the rest of the awards.
Yeah.
And Fire Emblem Three Houses won it. Which, as far as I see it, was going to be either Three Houses or Smash Ultimate. But I was expecting Smash Ultimate more. Huh.
Everyone is, just because it's Smash Bros. But also factor in the Game Award. Well, people's interest in it differ because I can tell you almost all of my friends do not respect it, but they look at the highlights for awards and also if there's any reveals. So they'll watch it, but never vote or participate. But at the same time, they're kind of justified because the vote has a restriction. It's not what game came out this year. Okay, vote on a game that came out this year. It's whatever they put in the category, vote on what's in the category, which that's kind of dumb because first off, Death Stranding shouldn't have even been there at all. If anything, it should have got an honorable mention, but you and I both know Jeff Keighley and Kojima are basically friends, so that's really what the fuck it was.
Yeah, that's why the Death Stranding won Best Game Direction, because, yeah, it was rigged in Kojima's favor. But I can kind of see it being used in, I think it was like Best Score, because, I mean, it is a video game. It does have from what I hear, a pretty decent soundtrack, so being nominated for that made sense. I think it won that one as well. Yeah. At least Death Stranding only won 3 of its 10 nominations. While the real stealer of the show was Disco Elysium, which, oh man, that I was really happy about. They've finally given a really fucking good indie RPG the attention it deserves. Unlike, say, I think it was 2017 when Divinity Original Sin 2 came out, and it barely got any mention at the Video Game Awards. It got 1 nomination, which was utter bullshit, because Divinity Original Sin 2, I say this not as an opinion, but as a fact, is one of the greatest RPGs ever made. And it's I guess this is an opinion, it's a sin that it didn't get more attention at the 2017 Game Awards. But, well, as we already said, yeah, the voting on it is pretty stupid anyway. But Disco Elysium is an amazing game. People should check it out. And it deserved the awards it got. And I guess that's it for topic 1. Now, as for topic 2, it wasn't really too hard for me to figure this one out. For me, it would be Studio Ufatable's Kimetsu no Yaiba, or Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, and my favorite live action show goes to Kamen Rider Zeo.
The fuck?
What?
Do you actually watch TV? I'm curious now. I don't have a problem with those shows. I've never seen them, but I'm curious now.
Yeah?
And you can't think of nothing that doesn't involve anime weeaboo shit. What did you watch that was an anime weeaboo shit today? Now I'm curious.
Today?
Sorry, this year, sorry.
This year?
Besides Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Okay. Saw that coming.
I was gonna say that.
I know. That's why I wanted to cut it off.
Excluding that, I watched, let's see. Admittedly, this was going back and watching older shows that were, in this case, someone rewatching some of them.
Had to have come out this year. Had to have come out this year.
Okay, if it came out this year.
Or had a new season.
Let's see here. Honestly, I haven't been watching much in the way of new stuff that came out this year. The non-weeaboo stuff was mostly just stuff that came out before this year.
I did say you can also include I did say you can also include things that have a new season this year. So, what do you have for that category?
None of it has a new season this year.
Jesus Christ, man, you got to diversify your portfolio.
Look, you gave me an extremely limited, it had to come out this year. I do watch Western stuff, it's just I haven't watched any of the stuff that came out this year. For example, if you allow me to list stuff that didn't come out this year, I watched a bit of House MD, let's see here, several of those Marvel shows, in particular Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hey, that I don't think that show's over, so that would have counted if you had have said that.
No, it doesn't count in the rules that you gave me. Anyway.
2019 animated and live action. It's an ongoing series, isn't it? Or did it end?
No, it did end.
Oh, shit.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did end.
Damn.
Let's see here. Then I was watching a bit of Star Trek TNG and a little bit of just a few episodes of Voyager, because I can only deal with the awful writing of Janeway for so long.
Okay, look at it this way. You got Amazon Prime?
No.
Okay, you got Netflix and Hulu though, right?
Not anymore.
Okay, well, I guess that explains it, and I was curious how the fuck that happened, but all right, continue.
That's why I'm watching older stuff. You know, stuff that I've actually have. Now, that shallow judgment of me aside, moving on to topic 3.
Call it what you want.
I think it's probably a lack of titles at this point, as these are still somewhat recently announced, right? These
yeah, all of it's
series.
Recent. The only one that's not recent is Nintendo State of Play, and that Sony YouTube stuff. That's fairly recent. Like, I don't think they've been even doing it a full year. Normally, they just let the European or specific country-based branches make up their own content, but that made-up content is almost never actual new shit.
All right, yeah. I think it's probably a lack of content, at least a lack of highly notable content that people would be jumping on right away. That and, well, gotta be honest, the market for streaming services is all over the place these days. So getting something that people would immediately jump on is a lot more complicated of a process these days. So I think that's what it is. It's mostly, I think they're still adjusting to the massive changes recently of the whole streaming bubble, because it is pretty much a bubble. It will eventually burst. Question is if they will have gotten in too late or not to really make much off of it. Let's see here. Topic 4. Well, if this Resident Evil 3 remake is in the same vein as Resident Evil 2, it's probably going to be fucking amazing. And I genuinely look forward to it, because the funnest parts about Resident Evil 2 and 3 were the one really powerful boss that was constantly chasing you around. And if they can make Nemesis perhaps even more menacing than Mr. X, which I gotta be honest, it's not too hard, at least in the looks department. Yeah, that'll be fucking awesome. And I hope that this RE3 remake is at least as good or better than the Resident Evil 2 one.
Okay.
Now, what's this state of play thing?
That's what
the other half of topic 4.
state of play. That's topic 3, but state of play. Oh no, it's 4. State of play is what Sony does for their promotional and advertisement. You know, there's a Sony PlayStation Experience, which is the physical event, and the Sony State of Play, which I guess they're trying to do it once a month, but they end up doing it maybe once every 2 or 3 months. It's their little game showcase, like I said, with Nintendo Switch, with Nintendo Live. It's the same thing. Or Nintendo Presentation, I guess, would be the name for it. That's their name for theirs.
All right. So it's basically a copy of the Nintendo Direct thing, kind of.
Yeah, that's the name I was trying to say, Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, well, I can't really say I've looked too much into the state of play stuff, though now that I'm a bit more aware of it, I'm going to have to look into the background.
Okay.
I guess that's it for me, really.
All right. Well, guess it's my turn. For topic 1, I'm going to just say right now, Death Stranding shouldn't have won fuck all. And no, it's not because I have some issues with Kojima as an adult, let alone a designer / director, whatever you want to look at them, auteur, but that's not something that should and can't really be applied to video games. Just by concept, the auteur is something that is strictly visual, whereas video games is entirely interactive. So my issue stems from the fact that the cutoff point seems to shift based on how people feel, which I feel, no pun intended, is wrong. Because of all the games that came out in November, what was the only one that made it onto the Game Awards list? Death Stranding. I can't name, and I've looked at it, I don't see anything else from November that made it onto any list but Death Stranding. Not to mention the voting started before Death Stranding came out. So if the voting started before Death Stranding came out, how was it there other than behind the scenes bullshit?
Because as you said, Kojima and Keighley are kind of close.
And well, even though we can't verify that, but it obviously is at least half true, if not fully true. That's where my issues come in, because that devalues your award now, in my eyes. That's primarily one of the only things that actually aggravates me. I never respected the Game Awards in the sense that the way it's handled and done seems very inconsistent with traditional award shows. However, we all know that video games are not a traditional form of entertainment. So I understand that they might have to do some things different, but it feels off. Also, seriously, like, I understand that commercial airtime gets sold in between things on an award show, but they didn't. It literally looked like, here's a video that's streaming, but wait, we have ads in the middle of the video. That's what it felt like. They were slopped together so unusually. They like legit talked about a subject, gave an award, boom, here's a trailer.
Yep.
Now, I mean, they ain't been doing this that long, but to be fair, hey, I don't know. Keighley isn't considered shady in the industry, but a lot of people say his on-screen personality, which, let's be honest, an on-screen host personality isn't a real personality, does not match up with how he is as a person. So, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say the man's a scumbag. I just think that the whole Kojima side of things might have been just a genuine abuse of power. Now, as far as my favorite show of 2019, animated and live, well, I mean, damn, that's really a hard. The Marvelous Misadventures of Miss Maisel or The Marvelous Miss Maisel. They've won over a dozen Emmys for a damn reason. They're on season 3 right now. One of the most painful endings I've ever seen of the entire series. Marvelous Miss Maisel, without a doubt, is one of my favorites of this year. Also, The Boys. And not for the traditional stereotypical reasons of, hey, it's got a lot of blood and gore in it. In fact, if you really stop and think about it, most of the blood and gore is limited in scope and is barely on screen for even a full, 120 seconds. Right? It's because of the writing and the parallels with modern society that show up. Now, animation, well, we're going to look at this from multiple perspectives. As far as movies go, the Invader Zim movie. I love the Invader Zim movie. It didn't even feel like it was made by different people. It wasn't, but it felt like the writing team never left. That's how good it felt. That's how good it felt. Obviously, Dragon Ball Super, the movie, the Broly movie. Because finding that balance between brain dead, finding that balance between brain dead violence and telling a coherent story that doesn't just, here's a sentence that leads to the next fight. It's a rarity. Yes, there's still some comical moments like the whole situation that triggers all of this. But the animation styles and the techniques used, besides being modern, also had some up-to-date elements. Like, I knew the minute I saw Broly being viewed in a 360-degree angle that they're showing the fight from Goku's first-person perspective. Who else has done that, period, in all of Japanese 2D cartoons? Fucking nobody. And if they have, it wasn't recent. Best believe it wasn't recent. Now, as far as on the show side of things, I probably shouldn't like it as much as I do. It's one of those shows where it has an identity crisis like every 2 episodes, but it's Kakegiru, if I'm saying it right, season 2. It's a show about gambling and gambling addicts, but it's gambling.
Oh God, that insanity.
Dude, you know when you yell in my ear, right?
Apologies.
It's all good. I know it's been a while since I reminded people that I'm usually on a headset when we do these things, but or headphones. I got my big ass mic though. But the animation technique and the animation style, I guess for lack of a better term, since it's a more traditional format of a show, their quality is naturally higher, which I think is kind of cool. You know, you're not going to see a bunch of kung fu fights or anything, but you will see some very unusual special effects used for inner monologues and things like that. However, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like, this show is all angels and it's shit skittles. They can't make up their mind about slutty and smutty crap at random. It's like once every 2 or second or third episode, even though the characters are not inherently slutty strippers, there's really only one character with any type of psychological sexualized issues. They find a way to do things that no one would think to do that make no sense in a smutty fashion.
So as for the reason it looked so impressive, that would be because of the studio behind it, Studio Map.
No, that's not why. That's like literally less than half the reason. It's I don't have it in front of me, but I'm gonna try to explain it. Basically, the way it works is, shows with intense action, they usually have key artists or key animators or import artists who have a specialty in that type of stuff. But when it's a show that doesn't heavily utilize that, the in-house team can get a little bit more quality done and handled. That's why even though a lot of shows will have an animation error and they get fixed in post-production via a DVD or Blu-ray release, the majority of errors are on action shows, but shows that have a lot of talking or psychological things have less issues. because, well, whoever's designing it is already in their element naturally. And also, they can increase the natural quality. One of the most common things a lot of the action companies do when they get into an intense fight is they'll actually downgrade and put a blur on the animation so people don't notice, and they'll put the camera at a far distance temporarily to save on frames. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you sell it and you know you got a time constraint. But because they don't have anything like that, they have a lot more flexibility and range and natural quality. Go look at season 1 of Dragon Ball Super streaming versus DVD and Blu-ray. Ugh. Akira Toriyama even shitted on it. So yeah, those are my two. Or those are some of mine. And as far as topic 3,
mentioned there is kind of something Studio Mappa's known.
No, everyone does. It is just them in particular. Don't get me wrong, though. They're a very good studio. Topic 3. I think that nobody got enough shit to show. And I think, and I know it's a stereotype, but Matt, you remember because you were there. Real talk. You and I both know, no matter how much prepping and planning they do, they always release these systems when they ain't got enough shit. So what's going to happen is 90% of what comes out year 1 is going to be a re-release of something that already came out on a previous system. I truly think that's what it's going to be like. I would love to be wrong, but I feel like I'm not going to be. Because based on when they started working on the new Xbox and based on the amount of games, because this system is 12 months away, that they've shown so far in trailers, they ain't got shit. Sony, on the other hand, I feel like they're somewhat sensitive about that situation. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to flood you with a bunch of new abilities and ways to play your old system. Because the only thing they got in the pipeline is things that might not necessarily be ready at launch. Godfall. Oh, you mean PlayStation exclusive Warframe? I know that's a little bit presumptuous, but you gave us a fucking trailer that had absolutely no gameplay.
Yo.
By the way, there was a lot of that going on during the Game Awards. And you know how I feel about first-time trailers with no gameplay. I fucking hate them. I feel like it's the worst type of cock tease. Like she got her whole entire mouth on your shaft and she just breathes on it and then gets up and leaves. Fucking hate that shit.
I mean, if it's a sequel to an already existing game, then I give it a bit more leeway because it's like, oh hey, I've seen that chick before. She gave me a very good time. This is something to look forward to, kind of thing.
I don't know. I actually, from what I've seen, well, first of all, I don't really like the Game Awards because they generally just give it to the series that someone likes based on the merit of that series as opposed to the content of the new game as a standalone. So the story writing and the skill of a story and a game is relative to how well it's written. And when it's a game like Legend of Zelda, and it's just the same story again, they give it to it every year because Zelda fans will throw out cash for it. Like it's some magical thing, even if it's undeserving and it's not even that interesting. And then that brings us to the systems, and I think it's becoming a trend in both film and in gaming to just give us like the bare minimum of a advert, like either a video of just some stuff that's not even going to be in the game, or if it is, it's a cutscene, or maybe a live action version of an animated film from 15 years ago. But no matter the reason, I'm just kind of sick of it. I'm sick of like giving out awards for video as opposed to actual gameplay, you know?
Also, let's not forget that if I count it right, because I actually sat down and I don't have it in front of me. I wish I did. I'm mad I lost it. But I think it was like 1 in 3 trailers or 2 in 5 trailers had no gameplay at the Game Awards. They had no game. Even if I liked the game, they had no gameplay. I love No More Heroes 3 and it's not even out yet. Absolutely no gameplay for the whole trailer. Yes, the psych out was pretty cool. It wasn't really a psych out. It was explaining the story behind the game, but it didn't fucking matter because there was no gameplay.
Yeah.
Ultimate cock tease. She literally massages it, oils that shit up, and then says, "Oh, hey, I gotta go." Like, Final Fantasy. Well, I won't even get on the remake because technically nothing they do is not gonna be a cock tease because everyone's been wanting and pining for this for over a fucking decade, literally.
Actually, 2 decades.
And also, they had combat. Mind you, it was very, very little gameplay. They had gameplay in their trailer. But to be fair, at this point, we've seen and know the basics of everything that's already going to be there. The only thing we don't know is Red 13 only going to be in the cutscenes because by that point in time, the game is about to be over? Or is Red 13 going to be playable for like the last 2 hours of the game? And that's about it. Everything else is, okay, what new limit break or combo or ability can they show us? I would love to see the level 4 limit breaks for everyone in that game. I want to see that. That would be so cool.
It would, yeah. Especially since.
Yeah, because like they're not going to do the exact same moves as in the previous titles. So Omni Slash will happen, but Omni Slash probably won't be in this game. Stuff like that. Also, can you even get the master materia this early on? Or, is there some super secret materia that is brand new and stuff like that? But, it is what it is. I'm glad that there's team combos or team up normal combos. I don't care what it's called. That was one of the main things I wanted, and I got it, and they showed it off. I just wish they'd explained it to us. And, hey, I got nothing against you. Tifa looks different. Yes, her tits did get bigger because, first and foremost, they didn't need to be small. Everyone complaining about small Tifa titty is a genuine idiot. What they should have been complaining about is if they made Tifa some smutty stripper and them shits was bouncing every 5 seconds. That would have been fucking awkward. But they specifically got told by the ethics department not to do that, and they didn't do it. So,
besides, this ain't Dead or Alive.
You go play Dissidia, and they apparently disagree with that notion, which is fucking weird. Because Tifa's the only one that they did like that, which makes it even worse in Dissidia. Yet she has the coolest alternate outfits, I'm not gonna lie. But I digress. Fucking, that is how I feel about that shit. Now, also, they're in a rare position to where they got the best of both worlds. They have a VR system that technically isn't even a full system. It's more like a system attachment or plug-in. They need to be showing us a bunch of accessories and a bunch of upgrades to the PlayStation VR because the PlayStation VR works well, especially with the PlayStation 4 Pro. But it's time to upgrade. Because first off, think about how long the PlayStation 4 the VR's been out. And the only thing they did was upgrade the systems around the VR. They didn't upgrade the VR. And to be honest, they can afford to do it now. They can have a PlayStation 5 only functioning version of PlayStation VR. Go for it. I'm down. And yeah, they do need to show off more accessories because first off, I don't know why Sony acts like their basic controller was perfect. They waited till like 4 or 5 years after they sold their controllers, and we all know they didn't really sell that much, to commission companies to make a pro or premium version of their controller. Bitch, you only did that because Microsoft did it, not because it was a smart idea and it was common sense. That's what I mean about 1 step forward and 2 step back. You can't have 1 step forward and 2 step back in any form of an industry, especially if you're an industry leader.
Yeah, that brings me to sort of my topic 3 takeaway. I've looked at the different...
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Wait till it's your turn. So, that's what I think they need to do. They need to be focused on upgrading the VR and the accessories. Because as it stands right now, there is literally nothing to show for the PlayStation 5 other than we all know there's going to be a Devil May Cry 5 PlayStation 5 version, a Final Fantasy 7 PlayStation 5 version, and insert Resident Evil PlayStation 5 version here. We know that's coming. Oh yeah, did I forget Spider-Man? No, not really. Spider-Man goes without saying. And now as for Nintendo, look, just show off the Super Switch, whatever you want to call it. We know it's coming. We actually want it. Just make sure that it can do 1080 with no issues when it's docked. Make sure that it's got double the RAM it's already got. The only thing holding back the Nintendo Switch is the fact that they went cheap on the fucking RAM. Let's be honest. Oh yeah, and the battery life. But hey, battery life is one of those you'll never not complain about it situations, so I'll leave it alone. We all want more battery life. Now, as far as topic 4, Resident Evil 3 Remake. Hey, look, I got a confirmation on move and shoot. So my first issue is completely null and void. So since there's move and shoot, I mean, that's the only thing that might have even made me pause on buying it. Another thing I want to see, stop making GameStop exclusive premium bundles. If you want to do GameStop exclusive DLC pre-order, hey, you go right ahead. I get it. I don't like it, but I get why it happens. But no, the collector's edition, meaning the only limited edition version of Resident Evil 3, only at GameStop, and they've been sold out since the first day they announced it. And if you want, or if they release more copies of the collector's edition, you have to pray that you call your GameStop fast enough, and then you tell them to switch over your pre-order. And they might be fickle about it and make you do it in store. Depending on where you go. Some people react different. It's fucking... That's... And you know you got a good game on your hands when the thing that people are primarily mad about is inability to access the premium version. So, my whole thing with that one is also I want to see when they didn't do Mercenaries mode, and I'm kind of annoyed by that. But to be fair, Mercenaries mode was never really in 2 and 3. But I want to see a non-online BS version of that Project Resistance mode. Like, I want to see a Mercenaries mode or a Time Attack mode. You know, a special mode. Because remember, Time Attack led to Mercenaries mode happening. And Mercenaries mode, the original version, functioned inherently differently. Why not do an homage to both? Why not have Time Attack version of each individual stage, and then Mercenaries traditional, you know, like RE4 going on into 5 and 6 version of Mercenaries mode. I want to be able to play characters that aren't necessarily playable in the game. Obviously, it'd be easy for them to import Chris and Claire, duh, but I still really, really want to see fucking, you know, Wesker show up as a secret playable character. You know he gonna be stupid strong with them close range things. Also, that's what I want a confirmation on. Is there a stun function in the game for the enemies, and can we do some special move to them? Because originally what they did with this game was Jill had the ability to perfect dodge zombies. Now, we don't know if that is returning in 3. We don't. However, why stop there? Why not give her the ability to do a counterattack if she times it right? You know? If you're not going to put in the enemy stun feature, which, first off, that's a lifesaver. I want to see a new function that Jill can do. Because remember, this ain't her first rodeo. Other than that, I want to get a shotgun really, really early. Shotguns save lives. Fuck handguns. At least when you're Jill. I'm a shotgun guy. So, that's pretty much it. I don't really like the idea of an alternate story mode, but hey, if they're going to make a second playable story mode, you know, go get Hunk, or, you know, go get, Rodriguez or Martinez, the dude she hangs out with for a part of the game.
Carlos?
Yes, Carlos. Give him a story mode, because technically he didn't have one if memory serves. He was only playable in Mercenaries mode. So, that would be cool. I know it feels weird for me to ask for more DLC, but please, sir, may I have some more? And that's pretty much it. Well, with that being said, as mentioned earlier, we have a late entry. The metallic historian himself, Lord Yingling, will now go into his feelings on all of the topics.
Okay. Hi there. It's Lord Yingling. Yeah, so topic 1 was to bring us back towards that was about the awards, and I already sort of mentioned that, like, It just feels like we give out awards a lot of times for something based on the merit of the series rather than the game, and how it looks rather than how it plays. Those are my two main criticisms. And this isn't like a new thing that's popped up in 2019. This has been going on since probably, well, early on, I'd say at least pretty strongly since about 2012, where we just, the year a Zelda game comes out, guess what? That's number one. And it's like, come on, you need to really look into it and examine each game, however appreciated or unappreciated. That's your job as a critic. Your job isn't just to give it to what's most played by players so that they feel like you picked the right thing. Because you don't go to a critic to hear the opinion you're going to make anyway. You go to a critic to learn what someone who plays all these games thinks, truly. So that would be my opinion on topic one. Just another one of those years of things like that. As far as favorite shows go, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I know we had a few Disney movies come out that were recent. We had Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2. And then we also had a lot of live action versions of older Disney movies, as I mentioned. And it's not just Disney. We have a lot of video game movies coming out, like the Pikachu one and the Sonic one. That's, I think, coming out at some point soon. And I'd beg the question to the listener, why? And that brings me to topic 3, that has to do with the systems. So, looking into the different systems, it seems to me like Nintendo is just providing an upgrade, which, if you look back at when the Xbox One came out and the PlayStation 4 came out, it was becoming clear that Nintendo had sort of diverged again into its own realm, where it's not really competing with them on the same level. This has been an issue of theirs since like day one, where they made a bloodless Mortal Kombat. And they've just solidified themselves as only making their own content. And then they moved away from that on the GameCube. They made Resident Evil. They made a few of those. They made Resident Evil 2 and 1 remastered, and they made Resident Evil 4. It was even one of the first games for the Wii. But by the time the Wii itself came out, without the demo Resident Evil kind of stuff, they pretty much only made games made by Nintendo. And they moved away from other people's games, with very few exceptions. Which wasn't really a good thing for them. And now they've moved back away from that again, with they released Skyrim a couple years ago, like everyone else, and they've kind of moved away from just sticking to their franchise. So I'm interested to see how that will affect the new upgrade. Will they make more stuff from other companies? Will they feature Final Fantasy games? I'm interested to see how that turns out. As far as PlayStation goes, I know it's going to be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4, and they're focusing on VR elements as well for games that'll work in both ways, which is interesting as well. However, my favoritism leans in this particular series towards the Xbox, which is promised to be backwards compatible all the way back to the original Xbox. When companies release systems, they want to release them before everyone else, which is why we get incomplete systems. Because when we have them released so early, they're worried someone's going to go out and buy PlayStation 5 for their kid, and then they won't want to buy Xbox when it comes out a week later. That they need to release around the same time. And it's kind of a game of chicken between the one that thinks they have just enough to release and to sell and to have a complete enough system before the other one does. And that is the key problem, is that there's this inherent competition that most people that buy one system aren't going to buy both of them. And I like the way Xbox plays movies better. They don't try to make me buy it on their own stuff, and I like that they're backwards compatible, because it means when the system comes out inevitably with not enough games, I have all these other games I can play to keep myself entertained and to appreciate the better quality while I wait for a new game. And with PlayStation, I've just got the games I can play right now on my PlayStation 4. So then the state of play for the Resident Evil 3 remake. Well, that thing is very interesting, especially with how it's sold and how it's just sort of gone from, this is a cool thing coming out, to, oh, you can't get this thing, it's sold. Goodbye. So, I think it's one of the first cases where I've seen a pre-order really matter and play a huge role. Usually the pre-order bonuses are just released as part of a DLC, and the pre-orders themselves are just a way to get you to commit to buying some game that some assholes in California haven't finished yet. So, it's really neat to see that a game is finally taking the mantle of just, it's completely gone. A game other than an amiibo, that is. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me see how much time we got. Okay, we're a little under. Okay, we're a little under. I might as well ask you this just to be a time filler, since you were never around to do it, Yingling. But what is the one thing or feature you feel like all the systems should add in the next generation?
Well, what should they add? My favorite thing has always been backwards compatibility, but I don't know if that's a product of us and myself being a little bit older than some of the people trying to get into the systems, and we want to play the games we love without having 40 things hooked up to our systems. So I always root for that. That's my number one consideration. But looking at people who buy these systems, not just as a gaming system, but as a movie player, as a DVD player, I'd like to see them work on that integration and make that better and more accessible on the PlayStation and the Xbox. Easier to rewind, easier to fast forward. Those are clearly a more widely important issue than just backwards compatibility, which I like.
Okay, fair enough. With that being said, this has been another exciting episode of Token Games Podcast. Go watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I will see you guys when I see you guys.